My name is Olivia Parker, 28, senior marketing strategist at Horizon Media. Last night at the company's annual awards dinner, I watched silently as my sister Charlotte stood at the podium accepting praise for the campaign I had created. "It's such an honor to be recognized for this innovative approach," she gushed, not once acknowledging my work. I gripped my champagne glass tightly, wondering if I should speak up. Then our CEO, James Morgan, approached the microphone with a knowing smile, and everything changed. "There's been a misunderstanding that needs correction," he began, and suddenly all eyes in the ballroom shifted toward me. "If you're enjoying this story of family drama and workplace justice, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about standing your ground when others try to steal your shine." Growing up with Charlotte was like living in perpetual shadow. 3 years older and infinitely more outgoing, she was the family star from the beginning. Our parents, both successful attorneys, saw themselves in Charlotte's confident charisma and competitive drive. Every dinner conversation revolved around Charlotte's achievements, her debate team victories, her student council presidency, her early acceptance to an Ivy League college. Meanwhile, my quieter, more analytical approach to success went largely unnoticed. "Why can't you put yourself out there more like your sister?" became my mother's constant refrain throughout my teenage years. I still remember my high school graduation dinner. I had just been named valedictorian, an achievement that had required years of diligent work. As we sat at our favorite restaurant, I waited for someone to acknowledge it. Instead, the conversation centered entirely on Charlotte's new internship at a prestigious law firm. When I finally mentioned my speech, my father nodded absently and said, "That's nice, Olivia. Charlotte was valedictorian too, remember? And she juggled so many extracurriculars." The familiar sting of comparison burned, but I had grown accustomed to swallowing my disappointment. Our professional paths diverged after college. While Charlotte followed our parents into law, I discovered my passion for marketing and creative strategy. I had always possessed an intuitive understanding of what motivates people, perhaps from years of studying family dynamics from the sidelines. After earning my marketing degree, I joined Horizon Media, a mid-sized agency with a growing reputation for innovative campaigns. Starting in an entry-level position, I worked tirelessly, often staying long after my colleagues had left for the day. My analytical mind combined with creative instincts gave me a unique approach that didn't go unnoticed by senior management. By my third year, I had ascended to a senior strategist role, the youngest in the company's history. My campaigns consistently outperformed expectations, earning Horizon several industry awards. For the first time in my life, I was being recognized for my talents rather than compared to Charlotte. My parents remained politely interested but distantly proud, clearly considering my marketing career less prestigious than Charlotte's legal path. "It sounds like you're doing well with your advertisements," my mother would say during our monthly phone calls, the slight pause conveying her gentle disappointment. Last year, Charlotte stunned everyone by announcing she was leaving law to pursue marketing. "I've always been drawn to the creative aspects of business," she explained during a family dinner, as if this hadn't been precisely my passion for years. My parents were initially concerned about her abandoning law, but quickly pivoted to enthusiastic support. "Charlotte has always had such a brilliant mind for strategy," my father declared. "She'll revolutionize whatever field she enters." I maintained a supportive facade while inwardly processing my complex emotions. Part of me was flattered that my once dismissive sister now found my field appealing. Another part feared history repeating itself, Charlotte entering my territory and effortlessly outshining me again. When she asked for my help finding opportunities, I recommended several agencies, deliberately excluding Horizon. It was the one place where I had established my own identity, free from Charlotte's shadow. Fate, however, had other plans. 2 months later, I arrived at work to find Charlotte being introduced as Horizon's newest account executive. She spotted me across the office and waved enthusiastically. "Surprise! I should have told you I was interviewing here, but I wanted it to be special when we finally got to work together." Her smile seemed genuine, but I detected the familiar competitive gleam in her eyes. "How did this happen?" I asked our department head, Marcus, when I found a private moment. "Charlotte Parker. We had no idea she was your sister until after the interview. Her portfolio was impressive, and she mentioned having insider knowledge of our company culture. Now I understand why." He laughed. "It's not nepotism if we didn't know, right? The portfolio." I felt a cold sensation spreading through my chest. 3 weeks earlier, Charlotte had asked to see examples of my work for inspiration. I had shared digital copies of several campaigns, including notes on strategy and implementation. Had she presented my own concepts during her interview? I wanted to raise concerns but hesitated. Without proof, it would look like petty sibling jealousy. Besides, Charlotte was technically qualified with her law background and natural charisma. I decided to adopt a wait-and-see approach, maintaining professional distance while observing how she operated. The following months confirmed my worst fears. Charlotte quickly ingratiated herself with senior management, joining their golf games and happy hours, the social aspects of business that I had always found draining. In meetings, she would build upon my ideas, restating them more forcefully and somehow receiving credit for the enhanced concept. Colleagues who didn't know our history began referring to particularly insightful strategies as Charlotte's approach, even when they had originated with me. Most frustrating was her tendency to position herself as my mentor rather than my junior. My sister is brilliant with data, she would tell clients, her arm around my shoulder, but I help her translate those insights into accessible strategies. This narrative, Charlotte as the charismatic visionary, me as her detail-oriented assistant, began taking hold despite my superior position and experience. 6 months ago, Horizon landed an opportunity to pitch for ElecTech, a major tech company looking to rebrand their consumer electronics division. The account would be the largest in our agency's history, potentially doubling our annual revenue. Our CEO, James Morgan, assembled an elite team to develop the pitch, including both Charlotte and me. I threw myself into the project, researching ElecTech's market position, analyzing competitor strategies, and identifying untapped customer segments. Late one night, while everyone else had gone home, I had a breakthrough insight. ElecTech's products were being marketed as technological innovations when their real strength was how they seamlessly integrated into customers' everyday lives. The entire campaign concept crystallized in my mind. Technology that lives with you. The next morning, I shared my concept with the team, outlining a comprehensive strategy that would position ElecTech as a lifestyle brand rather than just another tech company. The response was enthusiastic, with several colleagues building upon the foundation I'd established. Charlotte was uncharacteristically quiet during the presentation, nodding thoughtfully and taking extensive notes. Over the following weeks, we developed the pitch materials as a team. I created the strategy document and campaign blueprint, while Charlotte volunteered to prepare the final presentation slides and coordinate the pitch rehearsals. We were scheduled to present to ElecTech's executive team on a Friday afternoon. On Thursday, Charlotte called in sick. "Just a terrible migraine," she explained when I called to check on her. "But don't worry about the presentation. All the slides are ready in the shared folder. You've got this, Liv." I spent that evening reviewing the presentation materials, impressed by how well Charlotte had translated our strategy into compelling visuals. The narrative flowed perfectly, highlighting all the key insights from my original concept. I rehearsed my talking points until late that night, determined to deliver a flawless presentation despite Charlotte's absence. The ElecTech pitch went extraordinarily well. Their CMO was particularly impressed by the technology that lives with you concept, calling it exactly the perspective shift we've been seeking. As we wrapped up, their CEO asked who had developed the core strategy. I opened my mouth to respond, but James beat me to it. This was a team effort, but the central concept came from our senior strategist, Olivia Parker. We're fortunate to have her innovative thinking on our team. The pride I felt in that moment was unprecedented. Finally, my work was being recognized on its merits. Without qualification or comparison to Charlotte, the ElecTech executives requested some minor refinements to the proposal, but their enthusiasm was unmistakable. As we left their headquarters, James pulled me aside. "Exceptional work, Olivia. This account is practically ours, and it's largely thanks to your insight. I'm putting you forward as the lead strategist when we officially begin the work." Charlotte returned to the office the following Monday, full of questions about the pitch. I shared the positive outcome, including James's praise and the lead strategist opportunity. She offered congratulations that seemed sincere, though I noticed her smile didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'm so glad it went well," she said. "I put so much work into structuring that presentation to highlight our key insights. The subtle shift from your insights to our insights didn't escape my notice, but I chose not to address it. We had won as a team, after all, and the most important result was landing the account." 2 weeks later, Horizon received official confirmation. We had won the ElecTech account. James announced the news during an all-staff meeting, commending the pitch team's efforts and outlining next steps. A celebratory dinner was scheduled for the following Friday at Lumiere, the most exclusive restaurant in the city. "This is a watershed moment for Horizon," James told the assembled staff. "The ElecTech campaign will define our agency's future, and we'll be recognizing those who made it possible at Friday's dinner. Throughout the week, excitement built around the office. The ElecTech account was already bringing in new business inquiries from companies impressed by our coup. I worked on preliminary strategy documents, eager to begin implementing the vision I had developed. On Wednesday afternoon, I overheard Charlotte on the phone in the break room, her voice low but animated. "It's going to be perfect timing, Dad. James is making the formal announcement at the dinner, and the whole executive team from ElecTech will be there to hear it." She noticed me entering and quickly ended the call, greeting me with a brightness that seemed forced. "Hear what?" I asked, curiosity overcoming my usual reluctance to confront Charlotte directly. "Oh, just some recognition for the team," she replied vaguely. "James wants to highlight everyone's contributions." Something in her tone made me uneasy, but I dismissed it as my own insecurity resurfacing. Charlotte had been supportive since the successful pitch, openly acknowledging my role in team meetings. Perhaps our professional relationship was finally evolving beyond our childhood dynamic. Friday evening arrived, and Lumiere lived up to its reputation. Crystal chandeliers illuminated the elegant space, while attentive staff circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. The guest list included Horizon's entire executive team, the pitch team members, and key decision-makers from ElecTech. To my surprise, I spotted my parents among the arrivals. Charlotte intercepted them at the door, accepting their embraces before guiding them to the bar. I approached, confused by their presence but determined to be gracious. "Mom, Dad, I had no idea you were coming tonight. It's good to see you." My mother kissed my cheek. "Charlotte invited us. She said there would be a special announcement about the campaign she developed for ElecTech. We're so proud of her for landing such a massive account." I felt as though the floor had dropped from beneath me. The campaign she developed? Before I could respond, James called for everyone's attention, directing guests to their tables for dinner. I found myself seated between an ElecTech executive and Marcus, while Charlotte was positioned at the head table alongside James and the ElecTech CEO. My parents were seated prominently near them, beaming with anticipation. Throughout the exquisite four-course meal, I struggled to maintain engaging conversation while my mind raced. What exactly had Charlotte told our parents? More importantly, what had she led James and the rest of Horizon to believe about her role in the ElecTech pitch? After dessert was served, James stood and tapped his glass for attention. The room quieted as he began his address. "Tonight we celebrate a pivotal achievement for Horizon Media. The ElecTech account represents not just our largest client to date, but a testament to the innovative thinking that defines our agency. This successful pitch resulted from exceptional teamwork, but as with any breakthrough concept, it began with a singular vision." My stomach tightened as he continued, his gaze moving toward Charlotte. "When we assembled our pitch team, we knew we needed fresh perspectives. Sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from those who approach problems from entirely new angles." Charlotte straightened in her seat, her expression a perfect blend of humility and quiet confidence. Across the room, my parents clasped hands in anticipation. The technology that lives with you concept that so captivated ElecTech's leadership team represented exactly the paradigm shift they were seeking. It transformed their understanding of how their products could be positioned in the marketplace. James raised his glass and everyone followed suit. My hand moved automatically, though it felt numb. "So I'd like to recognize the architect of this groundbreaking campaign strategy." Charlotte began to rise slightly from her seat, a practiced, modest smile on her lips. "And the person who will be leading the ElecTech account going forward as our newly promoted executive strategy director." My heart pounded in my ears as Charlotte stood fully, smoothing her dress. "Olivia Parker." The sound of my name crashed through the room like a thunderclap. Charlotte froze mid-motion, her smile faltering as the assembled guests applauded. My parents' expressions transformed from eager anticipation to confusion. James continued, his voice carrying clearly over the applause. "Olivia's insight that ElecTech should position themselves as a lifestyle integration brand, rather than focusing on technical specifications, was nothing short of revolutionary. She identified a market gap that none of their competitors had recognized and developed a comprehensive strategy to fill it." I rose shakily as James gestured for me to join him. The walk to the front of the room felt surreal, made more so by Charlotte's stunned expression as I passed her. "Few of you know this," James added as I reached him, "but Olivia actually presented the pitch alone when her team member fell ill. The ElecTech executives were so impressed by her command of the strategy and her ability to answer their complex questions that they specifically requested her leadership on the account." He turned to me directly. "Olivia, your promotion to executive strategy director is effective immediately. Your vision and execution exemplify everything Horizon stands for." The applause was deafening as James handed me a small blue box containing a gold pin, the traditional symbol of executive status at Horizon. Somehow I found my voice, thanking James and acknowledging the team's collaborative efforts. Throughout my brief speech, I avoided looking at Charlotte or my parents, focusing instead on the supportive faces of colleagues who had witnessed my contributions firsthand. As I returned to my seat, the room buzzed with conversation. The ElecTech executive beside me offered warm congratulations, mentioning how impressed their team had been by my presentation. Marcus squeezed my shoulder supportively. "Long overdue," he whispered, "and perfectly timed." I didn't fully understand his comment until I glanced toward the head table. James was now speaking quietly, but intensely to Charlotte, whose face had drained of color. She nodded repeatedly, then gathered her purse and slipped away from the table toward the restrooms. The dinner continued with toasts and conversation, but Charlotte didn't return. When I finally looked toward my parents' table, I found my father staring at me with an unreadable expression. My mother appeared to be texting someone, her brow furrowed in concentration. As the event wound down, I was surrounded by well-wishers, including several ElecTech executives eager to discuss next steps. Through the crowd, I spotted my parents preparing to leave. Making my excuses, I navigated toward them. "Mom, Dad, I didn't know you'd be here tonight." My father regarded me with newfound uncertainty. "Charlotte told us she was receiving a promotion for her work on a major campaign. She said you were part of her team." "It was actually the opposite," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "I developed the core strategy and led the pitch. Charlotte was on my team." My mother's expression wavered between confusion and disbelief, but Charlotte said, "Mrs. Parker?" James appeared beside us, extending his hand to my parents. "I'm James Morgan, CEO of Horizon Media. I hope you're as proud of Olivia as we are. Her work on the ElecTech campaign has been nothing short of brilliant." My father shifted uncomfortably. "Yes, of course. We're surprised, but certainly proud." "No need for surprise," James replied with a slight edge to his voice. "Olivia has been our top strategist for years. In fact, I was rather confused when Charlotte mentioned you might be attending tonight. We don't typically invite family for these announcements." He turned to me with a meaningful look. "Olivia, could I have a word before you leave? There's something we should discuss regarding the team structure moving forward." I nodded, then turned back to my parents. "I should go. Thanks for coming. We'll call you tomorrow," my mother said, her voice subdued. "Congratulations, Olivia." As they departed, I followed James to a quieter corner of the restaurant. "I owe you an apology," he began without preamble. "It seems there's been some misrepresentation regarding the ElecTech campaign." "What do you mean?" James sighed heavily. "Earlier this week, Charlotte requested a private meeting. She presented what she described as her concept for the ElecTech campaign, with supporting documents showing the strategy development process. She strongly implied that the core ideas originated with her, while acknowledging your help with implementation." Cold anger settled in my stomach. "That's not what happened." "I know that now," James assured me. "Something about her presentation felt off, so I spoke with Marcus and reviewed the project files. The timestamp on your initial strategy document predates any of Charlotte's involvement. Plus, the ElecTech team specifically mentioned how you answered technical questions during the pitch that only the strategy's creator would understand." He looked troubled. "Charlotte suggested we should announce her promotion at this dinner, with the ElecTech team present. She had apparently already invited your parents to witness it." The pieces clicked into place. Charlotte's mysterious phone call, her confidence throughout the evening, my parents' presence and expectations. "What happens now?" I asked quietly. "That depends partly on you," James replied. "Charlotte's actions constitute a serious ethical breach. At minimum, she'll be removed from the ElecTech account and placed on probation. Whether we take further action could be influenced by your wishes, given the family relationship." I considered this carefully. Despite everything, Charlotte was still my sister. Our childhood dynamic had clearly followed us into adulthood, but I took no pleasure in her humiliation. "I don't want her fired," I said finally, "but I can't work with her anymore. The trust is gone." James nodded. "I understand. We can transfer her to another department or help her find a position elsewhere. And Olivia," he added, his expression softening, "your promotion stands regardless. It's been in the works for months, based entirely on your performance. Tonight's announcement was simply expedited to correct the misrepresentation." After James departed, I remained in the now emptying restaurant, processing the evening's events. My phone buzzed with a text from Charlotte. "I'm sorry, can we talk tomorrow?" I didn't respond immediately. Another text arrived. This one from my father. "Your mother and I would like to have brunch with you Sunday. Just you. As I gathered my things to leave, the maitre d' approached with a bottle of champagne. Compliments of Mr. Morgan, he explained, to celebrate your promotion. I smiled, accepting the gift. Thank you. It's been quite an evening. Walking toward the exit, I caught my reflection in a mirrored wall. Shoulders back, head high, the executive pin glinting on my lapel. For the first time in my life, I was being seen and valued for exactly who I was, not in comparison to Charlotte. The recognition felt bittersweet but undeniably satisfying. Outside, the night air was cool and refreshing. I decided to walk a few blocks before calling a car, needing time to decompress. My phone buzzed again with another text from Charlotte. Please, Liv. I know I messed up badly. I need to explain. This time, I replied, tomorrow, 2 p.m., my apartment. The confrontation with Charlotte would be difficult, as would the brunch with my parents. Decades of family dynamics wouldn't change overnight, but something fundamental had shifted, not just in how others saw me, but in how I saw myself. As I walked through the quiet streets, I realized that the true victory wasn't the promotion, or even the public vindication. It was finally breaking free from the shadow I had lived in for so long, emerging into the light of my own accomplishments. For the first time, I felt not just professional satisfaction, but a profound sense of personal liberation. The truth, once revealed, had set me free in ways I hadn't anticipated. I smiled to myself, thinking of the new journey ahead, leading the ElecTech account, stepping into an executive role, and perhaps most challenging of all, redefining my relationship with my family on more equal terms. It wouldn't be easy, but I was more than ready. After all, I had spent a lifetime preparing for this moment, developing strength and resilience in the shadows while waiting for my chance to shine. Charlotte arrived at my apartment the following day precisely at 2 p.m., uncharacteristically punctual. I opened the door to find her looking smaller somehow. Her usual confident posture diminished. She had clearly been crying, her carefully applied makeup failing to completely conceal the evidence. Come in, I said, stepping aside. My apartment reflected my personality, organized, understated, with carefully chosen artwork and books lining the walls. Charlotte had always teased me about my boring decorating style, preferring bold colors and statement pieces in her own home. She took a seat on my sofa, perching nervously on the edge as if afraid to fully occupy the space. I remained standing, preparing 2 cups of tea more to give my hands something to do than out of hospitality. I don't even know where to start, Charlotte finally said, her voice unusually subdued. The truth would be nice, I replied, handing her a cup before sitting in the armchair across from her. Why did you try to take credit for my work? Charlotte stared into her tea. It wasn't planned, not at first. When I joined Horizon, I just wanted to prove myself in a new field. But everyone there already knew you, respected you. Do you know what it's like to be introduced as Olivia's sister everywhere I went? To have every idea compared to your standards? The irony of her complaint wasn't lost on me. Yes, Charlotte, I know exactly what that's like. It's been my entire life. She looked up, genuine surprise crossing her features. What do you mean? Are you serious? I set my cup down carefully, tempering my rising frustration. Growing up, everything was about you. Every family conversation, every holiday, every achievement of mine was measured against yours. Charlotte was valedictorian too, and she did all these other things. Why can't you be more outgoing like your sister? Does any of this sound familiar? Charlotte's expression shifted from surprise to discomfort. I knew Mom and Dad were proud of me, but I didn't realize they were comparing us that way. How could you not notice? It was constant. She shook her head slowly. I guess I was so focused on maintaining their approval that I didn't see how it affected you. That sounds terrible now that I say it out loud. I took a steadying breath. So what happened with the ElecTech campaign? That wasn't just failing to notice something. That was deliberate. Charlotte's shoulders slumped further. After you showed me your strategy document, I recognized immediately how brilliant it was. The way you repositioned their entire brand approach, it was genuinely innovative. And I wanted to be the one who had that breakthrough for once. So you claimed my work as your own. My voice remained level despite the hurt and anger churning beneath the surface. Not immediately, she countered, though weakly. During the team meetings, I never directly said it was my idea. But when people assumed I had contributed more than I didn't correct them. It was subtle at first, then it snowballed. Until you told James the entire concept was yours and invited our parents to watch you receive a promotion for my work. Charlotte's face crumpled. I've spent my whole life being the successful daughter, the one who made all the right moves. When I left law, Mom and Dad were so disappointed. For the first time, I wasn't meeting their expectations. Her voice broke slightly. I thought if I could show them this massive achievement, They'd see that my career change wasn't a mistake. So you stole my achievement instead of earning your own. The words came out harsher than I intended. But I couldn't soften the truth. I know, she whispered. It was wrong. Inexcusably wrong. When James announced your name instead of mine last night, it was like finally seeing myself clearly. I've never been so ashamed. We sat in silence for several moments, the weight of decades of rivalry and resentment settling between us. Finally, I asked the question that had been troubling me since last night. What did James say to you at the dinner? After the announcement? Charlotte winced at the memory. He told me he knew everything. That he had evidence I had misrepresented my role and had planned to deliberately mislead the company and clients. He said he was removing me from all active accounts immediately. Are you fired? Not yet. I'm on probation pending an ethics review. James mentioned that you had requested they not terminate me. She looked up, genuine gratitude in her eyes. Why would you do that after what I tried to do to you? I considered my answer carefully. Because despite everything, you're still my sister. And because firing you wouldn't solve the underlying problem, which is that you and I have never had an honest relationship. We've been locked in this competition that I never asked for and never wanted to participate in. If there's any chance of moving forward, we need to break that pattern. Charlotte nodded slowly. I don't think I can stay at Horizon. Even if they don't fire me, everyone knows what happened now. Probably not, I agreed. But there are other agencies, other opportunities. The question is whether you'll pursue them honestly or look for more shortcuts. I want to do better, she said softly. I really do. Last night was clarifying. Watching you accept that promotion while our parents realized what I had done. It was excruciating, but necessary. I felt a twinge of sympathy despite my lingering anger. Mom and Dad want to have brunch tomorrow, just with me. Charlotte's smile was sad but resigned. That's a first, isn't it? They're probably trying to figure out who you actually are, now that they've been forced to see you. Her insight surprised me. Perhaps there was more self-awareness there than I had given her credit for. What do you think will happen with us? She asked after another silence. Can we ever have a real relationship? I honestly don't know, I admitted. There's a lot of damage to undo. It would require both of us to change patterns that are deeply ingrained. I'd like to try, Charlotte said with uncharacteristic humility. Maybe not right away. We both probably need some space. But eventually, as she prepared to leave, Charlotte paused at the door. For what it's worth, I really am proud of you, Liv. Your work is exceptional. You deserved that promotion and the recognition. After she left, I sat alone in my apartment, mentally preparing for tomorrow's brunch with our parents. For the first time, they had requested my company alone, without Charlotte as the centerpiece. It was a small shift, but perhaps a significant one. Sunday brunch with my parents felt like entering a familiar play where all the actors had suddenly received new scripts. We met at Bellamy's, an upscale restaurant they had frequented for years, usually to celebrate Charlotte's accomplishments. The maitre d' greeted them by name, looking momentarily confused when Charlotte wasn't with us. After we were seated, an awkward silence fell. My parents examined their menus with unusual concentration until the waiter had taken our orders and departed. Olivia, my father finally began, clearing his throat. Your mother and I have been doing a lot of thinking since Friday night. I waited, curious what narrative they had constructed to make sense of the evening's revelations. We owe you an apology, he continued, the words clearly difficult for him. It seems we've had some misconceptions about your career. My mother nodded, her expression contrite. When you chose marketing instead of a more traditional professional path, we didn't understand the significance of your work. We thought of it as just creating advertisements. It's much more than that, I said quietly. Strategic marketing shapes how companies position themselves in the marketplace, how they communicate their value, how they connect with customers. It's complex, analytical work. We see that now, my father acknowledged. James explained some of what you've accomplished at Horizon. Your contribution to the company's growth has been substantial. I took a sip of water, processing their words. It's not just about my professional accomplishments. It's about how you've always viewed me in comparison to Charlotte, like I was somehow less than, just because I'm different from her. My parents exchanged uncomfortable glances. We never meant to make you feel that way, my mother said defensively, then paused, reconsidering. But intention doesn't matter if that was the effect. We've been reflecting on how we've treated you both over the years. Charlotte called us yesterday, my father added. She was very upset, very remorseful. She told us she had tried to take credit for your work and that it was part of a pattern of competition she felt had been encouraged throughout your childhood. I raised an eyebrow, surprised that Charlotte had taken such responsibility. And what did you think about that? My mother looked down at her hands. It was difficult to hear. As parents, you never want to think you've contributed to problems between your children, but looking back honestly, we can see that we did create an environment where Charlotte's accomplishments were celebrated more visibly than yours. We understood Charlotte's path, my father explained. His usual authoritative tone softened. Law, like our careers, had clear milestones and recognizable achievements. Your journey was less familiar to us, so we didn't know how to properly acknowledge your successes. You could have asked, I pointed out. You could have taken an interest in what I was actually doing rather than wishing I was doing something else. They both nodded, accepting the criticism. You're right, my mother admitted. We should have made more effort to understand your world. As our food arrived, the conversation shifted to more specific questions about my role at Horizon, the significance of the ElecTech account, and what my promotion would mean for my career. For perhaps the first time, they listened without comparing my path to Charlotte's, or offering suggestions for how I could be more like her. Before we departed, my father asked hesitantly, "What happens with Charlotte now? Professionally, I mean, that's largely up to her," I replied. She made a serious ethical mistake, but she's talented and charismatic. If she can learn from this and build her career with integrity, she can still be successful. And between you two? My mother inquired, genuine concern in her voice. Can your relationship recover? I considered this carefully. I hope so, eventually. But it will take time, and it will require all of us to change some fundamental dynamics. Charlotte and I can't rebuild while still performing the same roles we've been assigned since childhood. As we said goodbye outside the restaurant, my parents embraced me with unusual emotion. We're proud of you, Olivia, my father said, his voice slightly gruff. Truly proud of the woman you've become. On your own terms. The following weeks brought significant changes both professionally and personally. At Horizon, I stepped into my new executive role, assembling a team for the ElecTech account and developing the initial campaign strategies. Charlotte transferred to a different department temporarily, then ultimately accepted a position at a smaller agency across town. A lateral move professionally, but an important fresh start. My relationships with both Charlotte and my parents entered a period of cautious reconstruction. We began establishing new patterns of interaction, my parents making genuine efforts to understand my work and interests. Charlotte carefully respecting boundaries and acknowledging my accomplishments without the undercurrent of competition. 3 months after the fateful dinner at Lumiere, my ElecTech campaign launched to industry acclaim. The technology that lives with you concept resonated powerfully with consumers, driving sales beyond even the most optimistic projections. My name appeared in several marketing publications, firmly establishing my reputation as an innovative strategist. On the launch day, I received a handwritten note from Charlotte. Congratulations on bringing your vision to life. It's even more brilliant than I imagined. Proudly watching from the sidelines this time. See, that evening, as I stood at the window of my newly upgraded office overlooking the city, I reflected on the journey of the past year. The painful confrontation at the dinner had catalyzed changes I had never thought possible in my family dynamics. While our relationships remained works in progress, something fundamental had shifted. Not just in how they saw me, but in how I saw myself. The truth once revealed had indeed set us all free to begin again on more authentic terms. And that, beyond any professional achievement, was the most significant victory of all. Have you ever experienced someone taking credit for your work, or lived in someone else's shadow? How did you finally claim recognition for your contributions? Share your story in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories about overcoming family dynamics and finding your own voice in professional and personal relationships.